single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
He went through a lot of experiences. And you're saying because of those experiences, he was able to gain that wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think wisdom is gained through experience or it's innate?
Say it again.
I said, do you think wisdom is gained through experience or it's just innate, it's just natural?
Oh no, you gotta have the experience for the wisdom.
Because
Got to.
you know I'm 23 and you say you connect with me and I'm very wise. This is because of the experiences I've encompassed throughout life.
Yeah, and then you have a high sense of awareness at a young age, so you get wisdom a lot faster than most. Most people need age to get the high sense of awareness to break down their experience to get wisdom, but you have a high sense of awareness at a young age, and you go through a lot mentally. So to try to understand that and break all of that down is what gives you the wisdom, because you didn't let your experiences break you down. You process those experiences to get to the wisdom, and you continuously learning about it. Some people, it takes them to 30, 35, 40 to even get to that self-awareness moment, to then dialogue and understand all of their 30 and 35 years of life to turn it into wisdom.
I know a lot of stuff and I can relate to everything Mike Tyson talks about as if I've lived just as long as him. Because I've gone through it in only 23 years and it took him 54 years to experience.
A lot of that time he was lost in the sauce because he was in that stardom phase of his life, to where he was just living a different life. When you got money and fame, what everybody wants, a lot of times the growth and self-development don't exist in that realm. It's just a bunch of experiences, and then you do the growth and the self-development after you tear yourself down from that lifestyle. Everybody wants the lifestyle, but the lifestyle really just gonna break you down for the most part.
I'm gonna come.
Partying, huh?
I'm gonna let you finish. What were you saying?
Just partying, women, drugs, fun, money. Ultimately, that's gonna break you down. Ultimately,
I'm gonna come right back to this video, but since we're on the topic of wisdom, I'm gonna show you this one thing. So this, can you see my screen?
yeah.
This is a diagram that I wrote for, remember how I was talking about earlier, thoughts and emotions? This is my diagram. Now, I'm not the best artiste, so bear with me. Let me see if it'll focus. Oh yeah, here we go. So right here up top, you see it sees thoughts, and then right there I have an arrow, and that arrow says the brain, and then at the bottom it says dang, let me see if I can fix the light. At the bottom it says emotions with the arrow, and then it says a stomach. And then you can also see these other arrows that are circulating because the thoughts generate the emotions and the emotions generate the thoughts, depending on if you're either in the conscious or subconscious. So I've also wrote down some rules to what I figured out. Now, everything that I'm about to present to you, I've heard nowhere. This is all from my creation and just thinking. I figured this out yesterday. I was just sitting here and I was smoking and I was thinking. Before I was smoking, I was kind of down and I couldn't think of anything stimulating because my mood was melancholy. Once I started smoking, the chemicals from the THC messed with my emotions and it made me more uplifted. After me getting the uplifted feeling, then I started to have creativity. So I started to say, damn, is that the reason why we struggle so much when it comes to accomplishing our goals? Because our emotions are running us, not our thoughts? I said, how does this system work? As you can see on this diagram, I sliced it in half. This is a full-fledged machine, but it's two very important pieces that encompass this machine. and they're very different, but they work together to create a whole unit, which is symbiotic with your actions as well as your attitude. This is what creates our actions and our attitude. So what I realized is a lot of people struggle with accomplishing goals just for the fact we lack emotion, the right type of emotion. People will wake up in the morning and have a plan for themselves and say, damn, I'm not motivated. Then, through a lack of emotion, they don't have anything mentally stimulating their thought process. And because their thought process is not being mentally stimulated, this whole machine is not functioning properly. It's stuck. What happens when you get in that rut? Usually we wait for an energy surplus from an external stimuli to activate our emotions. How do we get that external stimuli? Well, it has to first go through the barrier of the physical. It's some sort of sensory to the outside of us, whether it be one of the six senses, sight, taste, touch, sight, taste, uh, touch, smell, and hearing. And then the sixth is what you receive through energy. What we cannot see is the unseen. What now I'm not going to really include the sixth one in this only because the sixth makes things a little bit more complicated, because then we talk about a whole different emotional system, which is your intuitive emotion. And that is something that is not physical, it's metaphysical. It's something that we can't explain because it has to relate to the spirit. But as this simple diagram demonstrates, is that we're stimulated through our emotions, and then our emotions affect our thoughts. But if we want to get into the right groove of things, like for example, when I went back to the example you saying your thoughts were very different from your emotions. Emotionally, you told me that you felt that you were off, but in your mind, you felt that you knew that you were off and you wanted to not be off in your emotions. It's two separate systems. So I said, how do I affect my emotions so I can become successful even on the days when I'm not feeling it? You need some form of external stimuli. When we vocalize affirmations, with the main factor that many of us are missing is the tone of voice and the attitude to go with it. Because as we emit stuff into our environment, it now has left just our mind, and our ears are hearing it. And when our ears hear that vibratory frequency, it activates something in us. Just like I said, when I think about my grandparents' house and I smell the laundry detergent, most people would think I'm accessing a memory, and that's what I'm remembering. No, I'm accessing an emotion, and the emotion triggers the memory. So when you speak in a certain tone of voice, because it's been consistent, whatever speech you said has been consistent with that tone of voice throughout your whole life. When you say it with that as much attitude, gusto, and passion as you do when you're essentially in that mood, your body automatically starts to adjust back to that memory because that is an external stimuli. So if I say, man, this is the best fucking day ever, dog. Yes, let's go, bro. Shit is lit. Let's get it. I really start to feel it. Like I'm getting hype over here right now, and we're just sitting here on Zoom. It's just because I'm talking, and my attitude that I'm externally saying, my ears are receptive to it, and it actually coincides with the emotions that I felt in that moment when I used that real tone of voice. So I know that was me breaking down and explaining a lot of it, but how you can control that is literally just creating your own external stimuli. When we say our affirmations, we have to say that shit like it's the best fucking day ever and really mean it. We may not feel it, but if we say it correctly, we'll start to feel it emotionally. And our thoughts will coincide with how we emotionally need to feel. Then now the machine will activate again, but your thoughts are controlling your emotions. And after a while, the conscious act of thought will become very subconscious because it'll be naturally an innate thing to do because humans are creatures of habit. It'll be innate to you to be positive and naturally talk positive and naturally feel positive.
So that's how I am right now. That's why I rarely have bad days or have days that I'm out of it, because I just spend so much time pushing myself to be in that space that now it's a habit, consciously and subconsciously. Now it's like when I have a bad day, it feels crazy. Like it's so much of a shift outside of my regular day. Like that's why I can like be aware of it and speak of it like how I do, because This shit feels so crazy. Most people having a good day is out of the ordinary. So they like, oh my God, it feels so good. Like mine is the opposite.
It's bro. I'm glad you have this awareness, and I'm glad we can have this type of conversation. The bar of the century that I came up with is think about this, bro. We don't think to feel, we feel to think.
Yeah, I feel that.
We've never thought about something to see how we feel about it. Most people, when they think about something, they say, let me think about it and see how I feel about it. They already have their mind made up about how they feel about it. They're just in avoidance mode.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
we
We
feel a
feel it.
certain
We feel it instantly. The instant feeling is instant. Like, hey man, you want to join this 4H thing? You feel it in your gut if you want to do it or not. You know, if it's a no, it's an instant no. Like hell no, or you know, you feel
that's
it
what I'm
instantly.
saying. Bro, it's amazing. We literally we feel to think. Once we feel something, then that's how we're gonna think. And that's how I just bypass the whole like I'm literally doing cognitive behavioral therapy on myself and teaching others how to do it. And then the last part of this diagram shows the thought process is related to your brain. Your emotions is related to your stomach. So who's running what? Is it your brain running or your stomach? And it's your stomach. But you can control the narrative that your stomach gives your brain by consciously speaking affirmative attitude directing affirmations because that goes back to your sound, which is your external stimuli. Even Olympic level athletes in boxing, when they're getting ready for the Olympics, they practice a certain combination. They might have them smell lemons or a certain smell. So when they have a really good day of practice, they always have them smell that at the end of practice. They had a really good day. So then when it's time to go out for one of the matches, they have them smell that same scent and they perform just as well as their best days in practice.
I like that. I get that 1000%. I'm very sensitive to smell, so like smells definitely take me different places for sure.
Does this, but would you say the smells affect your thoughts or your emotions?
My emotions.
And then your emotions affect how you think.
All right, because the smell will take me right back to wherever, however I was feeling when it related to whatever was happening at that time.
And it was nothing that you could control either. It took you back
Oh
there whether
no,
you wanted to
no,
go
it took
back there or not.
yeah, it's like a time portal instantly.
Because it's subconscious. The emotion is subconscious. It's not a thing that we're conscious of. See, that's why even I believe Buddhist and Taoist principle, they don't tell you to absorb your emotions. They tell you to observe it like an animal in a cage. It's not you. You don't have control over that thing. Especially when we talk about this vessel, which is temporary, and we don't own all the mechanics to it. We can't control that.
So they said don't absorb the emotion.
We cannot absorb the emotion. We got to watch it like an animal in a cage, in a sense.
Mm, that's what happened like on my mushroom trip. When I be having my bad trips, like that's what the trip told me not to absorb it, to observe it. It's like you are this is not of you. This is this is not you and your energy and your emotions. This is just an experience to observe. And I just observed it until the bad trip turned into a good trip.
That's deep, man. Whatever I guess that shroom trip wanted you to be on, it had to give you that emotional stimuli to bring you to that sort of thought process because the emotions control the thoughts.
And I feel like it was a test. And the fact that I passed the test, it took me to, paradise.
Mm.